Okay, Debbie O'Connell, appreciate you being here. I don't know enough about you. So I want to hear your story. I want to hear more about you. Kind of give the listeners an inside look into Debbie O'Connell.
Absolutely. No, well, thank you for having me and being interested in my story. I grew up in New Jersey, so I imagine there's some in the metropolitan area who can relate to my upbringing there. And I was in an athletic family. My dad played minor league baseball. My uncle was in the majors. My mom was very athletic. So sports was a huge part of our lives and played many different sports, softball, basketball, played some field hockey, went on to play college basketball at Western Kentucky University. And we went to the Final Four. It was D1 Final Four, which was the most amazing experience, played at Rupp Arena in Kentucky. And in that particular Final Four was USC with Cheryl Miller, her senior year, Tennessee with Pat Head coaching, Pat Head Summit, and then
Hmm.
Texas. And Texas beat us in the semis and then went on to win it. So that was just an incredible experience. I'm also a bowler. Those of you who do 10-pin bowling, love that. Started as a junior bowler and became pretty proficient at it and gave it up while I was in college and then picked it up again as an adult and just stayed in sports. So after college, I was like, you know what? I want to stay in sports. I hadn't played very much golf at all, just a few times with mom and dad, played one time with my basketball coach. And he loves golf. Paul Sanford loves golf. And he told the golf coach, he said, you know, Debbie's pretty good at golf. So after the season, my junior year, she said, I hear you play golf. I'm like, well, I've played a few times, but, slice the heck out of it. But being athletic, I could make some contact. And she said, well, come out and let me see you play. So I'm going out thinking we're just going to hit some balls and she'll give me a lesson. She said, we're going to play. I said, we're going to play. I said, show me how to hold this thing. I know
Mm,
nothing. How many of you have that beginner
mm,
feeling out there? I was like, I don't know anything. And so whatever she said, I don't know. But I get on the tee, Josh, and I crush it
mm.
down, crush it. And there was a gal on the team. She said, Coach, she's fixing to embarrass you. So anyway, from there, she said, we have a tournament coming up. It's the best five scores out of six players. I only have five on the team. How'd you like to be our sixth? And I was so ignorant around golf. I was like, do you think I can? She said, sure. So I worked my butt off for 3 weeks and went in a college golf tournament.
Mm.
So after that, when I graduated, I was like, I'm going to pursue a career playing golf. So right away, I go from barely playing any golf at all to I'm going to be a professional golfer.
Wow.
And so that was my pursuit. And then eventually I found I really liked being around the club environment, got involved in the LPGA. At the time, it was called Teaching Club Professionals, but now we're called LPGA Professionals. I went from picking up balls on the range to being a player assistant to teaching to be an assistant. And then I was a head golf professional for 15 years at three different country clubs, the last one being a high end private club, which I loved it. I loved being a head pro, but I found I wanted to reach more people. So then I went out on my own, had a business with some other people for a while, and now I have Golf Positive. Love being an entrepreneur, focus deep on the mental game because I struggled with it.
Mm.
And I became a life coach, master certified in life coaching. Now I combine my golf expertise along with my expertise in life coaching and became a golf mindset expert. And I love to share that with everyone because as you know, right, golf's a mental game. Every single shot, there's a mental component. Every shot. So it's not like you can just work on your putting and prove that. Well, work on your mental game and everything gets a little bit better. So I
Mm.
hope I didn't go on too far, but
That
that's
was awesome.
the quick version of my life
Yeah,
story.
it's hard to boil down years or decades into 5 minutes, right? So that's awesome. So I mean, so many things I want to ask you now. Other sports, bowling. I mean, that's super interesting because I've got, yes, this is the mental golf show. We're all golfers here, but not everyone just does golf, right? Other people do other things too. They, business and other sports, other hobbies, whatever. So I'm curious with your background in other sports or maybe bowling specifically because it's so unique in conversations I have with people here. What what is similar mentally from, let's say, bowling to golf? And what is like, oh no, golf is way more this way, or bowling is way more this way? Is there anything stand out there?
So many similarities.
Okay.
First is it's an individual sport,
Right.
right? So that was my one individual sport until I started playing golf. The rest were team sports. And the nerves can be the same. Josh, I've had the opportunity to have a 300 game,
Wow.
right? So there was a week after week after week that I would get about 7 strikes in a row, the first 7, and then I'd get nervous, and then I would fight the nerves. And because I had a belief that if you were nervous, you couldn't succeed, because way back when there was a show called The Wide World of Sports. For those of you who are around my age, the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat. And watching sports on TV, the announcers would usually say if somebody failed under pressure, oh, the nerves got to them. And if someone succeeded, they have ice in their veins.
Hmm.
So
No
I
nerves.
had
Yeah.
this belief from watching sports as a kid that I got nervous. So when I got nervous, I would fight the nerves and I'd blow it and I'd blow it. And then week after week, it seemed like I'd have one really good game and then blow the opportunity for the 300. So I went to a sports psychologist. I went to Nelson Burton Jr., who's a Hall of Famer in professional bowling, for lessons, and I started working out with a personal trainer,
Mm,
and it was helping my golf at the same time.
sure.
But I got really determined, and then when I had 11 strikes in a row, needing one more for the 300, I never felt more nervous. So it's kind of
Yeah.
similar to the first tee jitters or coming down the stretch of a great round. So many times we want to hang on to that great round and we tighten up rather than doing what we're doing. So being able to, one, focus on the target. I'm a spot bowler, so I'm looking at the lanes. Have a routine that you do every time, taking that breath and staying in the moment. Basically, the breath is going to help you feel a little more relaxed, but your body is still going to shake. Your heart will pound. And believe me, it's okay. Just let it do what it wants to do. It's just because it's an important moment. So whether on the golf course or the bowling lanes, all of those nerves are the same. And the pre-shot routine, the target, the breath, all the same. And again, it's rhythm, tempo, timing. So if you can take that breath and stay out of your way, you can succeed. So I go and I take my breath and I start, and it felt so good. I mean, it's 12 strikes that you need, right? The last one felt as good as the first one, and it hooked into the pocket, and boom, the pins went. And I cried like a baby because it was such a feat for me to conquer that mindset. And that's what we all can do on the golf course. So extremely similar. The thing that's different is, your conditions are pretty similar in bowling, where in golf there's so many variabilities,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the main difference to handle. But in terms of the mental part of the game, very, very similar.
Yeah, because it's got the, like a free throw in basketball, or the kick in football. It's got the routine. It's all on you, and there's time to think, right? So bowling has a lot of that, I know. So was this? Did you go from your best being 7 in a row to getting the 300, or did you have some more success between there?
I think maybe one time I had 8. But
Yeah.
then it was after doing, the work with Bo Burton, the mental, and I had a meditation I was doing, and I'm working with a sports psychologist, and really wanted to conquer those. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other people conquer their mindset for golf and life. I mean, we know in life, and I think everyone would agree, mindset is the key around every single day of your life.
Yeah, yeah, mindset, the mental aspects help you access the skills that you work on, right? It's great that you work on stuff. It's great that you have great technique, and you have a lot of skills or maybe talent, but if you can't access it when it matters, then kind of doesn't matter.
Right. And so many people say, once I get my driver, my confidence will
Yeah.
be up. And then you know what happens? Their putting goes. Because we have this, I like to call it, instead of a glass ceiling, a grass floor.
Hmm.
When we want to lower our scores, if we really have a belief that we're a 25 handicap golfer, soon as you start doing one part of your game well, another part will fall apart. when you have a great front nine, way better than your handicap, how many times have people then blown up on the back to fit within their belief system?
Sure.
We need to break through the bottom and start to shift beliefs around that. So when your driver gets better, that every other part of your game stays intact as well. When you're putting better, then the rest of the game is still really good. Because I've heard so many stories of people, they get the one part and they're like, I don't know what happens. Then this falls apart,
Yep.
right? So
Yep.
mindset is definitely key.
Yeah, yeah, golf is crazy like that. It's hard to line up all four of the things at the same time. But so I want to put a pin in shifting beliefs. I want to come back to that. But before we go there, your tenacity, we'll call it, to go from playing one college event to I want to play professionally. Am I lining that up correctly?
You are.
That's very bold, right? So I don't know, was it just I mean your business now is called Golf Positive. Was it like blind optimism, or was it like, oh no, I actually have a plan for this. I'm gonna do it. I don't know. Talk to me. Was it a super emotional decision or well thought out?
It was one of those moments in life that it was, which direction am I going in life? I wanted to stay in sports.
Right.
That was one part that was really important to me. And I had an opportunity to go play professional basketball in Spain. There wasn't a WNBA at the time. Not so sure I had the talent, looking at today's talent,
Sure.
to actually be in the WNBA, but I could have gone to Spain and played professionally. My coach was like, I can get you on a team. Another option, be a graduate assistant basketball coach, stay in the game, get into coaching, which I enjoy that. I really enjoy coaching. And then the other option is one, that summer of between my junior and senior year, I worked a lot on my basketball game. I also went to a golf professional, and he said, you could be a pro. And he worked with many high level players. He knew from way back when. He was an older gentleman, Althea Gibson, from years ago, who was an incredible tennis player, transferred
Mm,
to golf. Just an amazing story for Althea Gibson. And and he said, you could do this. You have it's very athletic. Like, competing bowling, I actually competed at the highest level against professionals one time. I was at the highest level of basketball at the time. I also then eventually I played in an LPGA tournament, which was also crazy, Josh. I had been playing golf for 2 years, where I was really working at it, once I decided. And he said, you can do this. So I took his belief in me. And sometimes we need to do that in life, right?
yeah.
Maybe we don't believe in ourselves, but we can take someone else's belief and then pour it into us and accept their belief. So I talked to my parents and I said, hey, should we give this a shot? And we all agreed, yes, let's give this a shot. You focus on doing the golf thing. So as an once I joined the LPGA professionals, I was allowed to go to a qualifier on a Monday in a course near me. So we have the ShopRite Classic down in Atlantic City area. So I signed up for it and I'm like, this is great. It's $100. I'll go to this qualifier. I won't qualify, but I'll go play with some really good golfers and I'll get great experience. I was so excited. I'm like, this is perfect. So I signed up. I get a call the week before. Hey, Debbie, just wanted to let you know you're in the tournament. And I said, yeah, great. I'll be there Monday to qualify. And she said, no, 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 you're in the tournament. We didn't have enough people sign up. You're
Oh,
actually in. Everyone who signed up for the qualifiers in. I was like, what?
whoa.
Like, that was not the plan. I'm supposed to not qualify and
Yeah.
not play. So now I was like, okay, here we go. So I go out there and play again. First tee jitters galore. But I
Hmm.
think I was so nervous, my conscious mind shut off, and it was like, we can't handle this, so let's just let our unconscious mind swing. And I hit a good shot down the middle. Sometimes I've done that. Where I've been so nervous. I did some taekwondo, and I remember the first time I had to spin and take my eye off the board and break it with a back spin kick. I was incredibly nervous. I was like, holy cow. And then all of a sudden, it's flow state, right? It's like bing, bam, boom, the board's broken. I was like, what happened?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So after that tee shot, I was like, oh my God, I didn't feel a thing. I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
And it's down the middle.
Yeah.
But then Deborah McAfee, who's like 6'2", her ball was going up at the time it went over mine. So when I hit, my family was like, "Yay!" Like she made contact, and then she hits, and they were like, "Whoa!" But I did all right. It was I shot like I didn't come in last, I don't think. But I was like 81 or 82 the first day and 79 the second day, which I was like, oh my God, I broke 80.
Yeah. Wow, that's insane. That's okay. So we've got nerves as almost like a channel to flow state. It's almost like in order to get to flow state, you have to be in a situation that makes you nervous. Is that something you've experienced? I mean, it sounds like bowling, taekwondo, golf was is basketball. Did you ever experience that with basketball?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So in basketball, it's almost a little easier because the game moves so fast. You don't
Right.
have time to think and you're
Right.
running. But even on the free throw, it's that
Mm,
same thing. So flow state, one, it's that skills ratio challenge where when the challenge is approximately, and they're getting close, Stephen Kotler's doing a lot of research on this. And then Mihai Csikszentmihalyi was the
mm-hmm.
godfather of
Mm-hmm.
flow state. He actually named the state with all of his research. They're saying about 4% higher than your perceived skill level. So my perceived skill level going into an LPGA tournament or a college golf tournament was certainly above,
Sure.
less than the challenge, right? So
Yes.
that perceived skill level. And the same thing with the Taekwondo move or the bowling. I had a belief I could do it, but it really was above. I've never done it before. And I knew there'd be a big challenge. So when you are in that state, and a lot of the studies about flow state came from these adventure athletes where
Mm-hmm.
the stakes are even higher because they could die if they're not focused. And some have just doing their sport. So when they've studied that, yeah, when you get that nervous, so allow it to happen. It's okay. Put an importance on what you're doing, and that will help trigger that flow state, which it is like being in the zone. And it's that deep now, being in the present moment where you lose your self-consciousness. There's no more thinking, you're just doing. Tiger Woods described that he doesn't remember a number of the best shots he ever hit in the highest pressure pack situations.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I remember pulling the club out and I remember standing there watching it.
Mm-hmm.
In between, I have no recollection at all. That is macro flow state so deep his unconscious mind totally took over and he just did. And he, from watching him, it doesn't look any different, right? It doesn't look any differently at all. But inside, he literally lost his whole conscious
Mm.
awareness and went and just did the action that he trained. Will be wherever you train to, when you get in that flow state, you'll play to your ability.
Right.
Doesn't mean you'll play like Tiger, but
Right.
you'll play to your trained ability because the
Mm.
unconscious mind will take over.
Yeah, I like the skill access, right? So there's skill acquisition is working on your game and raising your floor of what you're actually what you're actually able to do, and then skill access is when I'm in that situation, can I actually access the skill that I have built? And flow is the peak of it, right? And I don't know if the research is updated on this, but isn't it something like 10% of the time we actually experience flow, or the best performers in their arena experience that state about 10% of the time. I don't know if I'm making that number up or whatever, but it's rare, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, because there are triggers. So if we can learn the triggers to invite flow, that's the challenge of it. You can't force flow because that's not flowy, is it? We have to take the action, do the triggers, and make them more natural, and then flow into flow.
Right.
It just kind of has to happen. But there are things we can do, like deep breathing is one that if you take deep breaths and uh, you know, everyone take this seriously. Deep breaths are so incredibly powerful. And you breathe in. I like to breathe in through my nose, let my belly go out, diaphragmatic breathing, and then breathe out as if I'm breathing through a straw so I can control it. So like a 4-second count in and 8-second count out, and do that like 3 times. But here's the key. Pay attention to your body. Picture the air going in, blowing up your belly, and then flattening your belly. When you're there, you can't help but be in the present moment. So focus brings on flow. You can be in the present moment at any time. So if you have fear of the outcome, get back to the present by breathing and paying attention to how your body's feeling as it's breathing.
Mm, I love that. The attentional breathing, because your body's always in the present. Your mind can go past and future, but your body is always in the present. So if you're paying attention to your body, your mind is in the present. And that as a kind of a gateway or a doorway or an invitation to flow. I love that mentality, because I think a lot of us try too hard to kind of will our best game and try to force good golf to happen. And that's not really how it works. We can't force good golf to happen. We have to invite it. We have to create the conditions that lead to good golf, right?
And the more relaxed we can get in our body, I always had the philosophy, even before I went deep into my mental game studies and our mindset and our brains, I like to help people get out of their own way. How best can I do that? How best can I get them in a proper grip and setup to allow their body to move effortlessly? How best can I get them to work on maybe some fitness or strength where we need stability, we need flexibility, to help them get out of their own way and allow them their own talent to shine, whatever level their talent exists right now. How can we get out of the way? And then getting out of your way mentally is huge, because too many people have the doubts, the lack of belief, the fear of embarrassment, right? Fear of, blowing some, fear of expectations. I'll give you an example of expectations. I play in lots of pro-ams, and I've only experienced this with women, uh, but some of you may recognize it. So I'll be in a pro-am. One of the playing partners is playing great, like out of her mind. She's a 30 handicapper making par after par, maybe chips one in for birdie or something, like just really playing well. Well, about 4 or 5 holes of that, she inevitably will say, "That's not me. I'm not this good. I'm not a sandbagger. Don't expect me to do this all day." Like all of a sudden, she's talking herself out of this amazing, relaxed, fun state she was in, which could have been flow, right?
Hmm.
Or part, there's
For
might
her, it
be,
was.
well, there's
Yeah.
probably some levels of flow to that. She was just playing and it was going great. And then a little while, guess what happens? Wheels fall off. And then later she's like, "Oh my God," getting all upset at her game. "I can't believe this. I'm playing so badly." Right. Because then it went back to what she talked herself into and got
Right.
back to her own belief about herself. But so many times, expectations of others or thinking what other people are thinking really messes with our mind. And
Yeah.
it's us messing it. It's us
Yeah.
doing the messing.
Yeah, so I mean, that's so interesting. So for that particular lady, or I mean, how many of us have experienced that of or got a great round going, we start to realize we got a great round going and we blow it. So for that type of situation, when you do recognize that you are playing good, because it's really hard to go 5 straight hours without realizing how am I playing? Right? That's just hard. I feel like I've done it. I've got a terrible memory. My wife will tell you how terrible my memory is, which helps me sometimes in golf. But
Yes.
it's really rare to go 5 straight hours without remembering what you've done so far. So when that memory hits you, when that realization hits you, what's a good thing to do in that moment?
One is breathe, and
Breathe.
then even talk to yourself, say, "Stay in the present, one shot at a time." Like with the bowling, with my best round of golf in a tournament, I was low round of the day. And it was a tough golf. It was at PGA National
Oh
where
yeah.
they just held,
Yeah, last week.
what's it called? It was the Honda.
Cognizant.
Yeah, the Cognizant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Uh, it wasn't that course, but it
Mm-hmm.
was another course
Is
there
the other
that,
one. Mm-hmm.
the greens seemed like they were, like the size of a top of a coffee cup. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they were small all day. And I had been working on my bowling. And so I was doing all this meditation. I read a book called The Present. Has nothing to do with golf. It has everything to do with living in the present moment. You can set goals for the future, you can learn from the past, and then live in the present.
Yeah.
So I kept reminding myself as my heart was beating, same thing as the bowling, right? I knew I had all strikes. I knew I was playing, and I didn't know if I was under par or even par. I didn't know for sure. I was just writing my score down. I didn't add it up, and I knew it was the best round that I've ever played, that I had going. My heart started beating faster. I started feeling nervous, and I kept breathing and saying, "Stay in the present, one shot at a time." And a couple times I went to, oh my God, the phone call with my mom.
Yep.
And I'm like,
How's it
go
going to go?
back to now. Like literally lasso your thoughts. I tell people all the time, don't just listen to yourself, talk to yourself. Because when we just listen, most of our thoughts are not positive unless you've trained your brain to be on the positive side. But we are born, like I have a brain right over here.
Hmm.
This thing's job is to protect us. What does that mean? It looks out for anything that could harm us, whether emotionally or physically. So it's always looking out for the negative, and that's why we have this negative bias. So don't just listen to yourself, talk to yourself, stay in the present. I've got this. I can do this. One of the anyway, so
Yeah.
when I finished that last hole, I hit every time on the tee. It was target. It was same as bowling. Target, me and my target, me and my target. I just had a very clear picture of the target, which is a flow trigger. Very clear goals. And I hit it right down the middle. And then I had a shot in. I took a little extra club, I think a 5-iron, hit it right over the flagstick to the back of the green, had a big long putt downhill, left it really close. And I said to my playing partners in that moment, you all have just watched me play the best golf round I've ever played. And they're like, make the putt.
Yeah.
Make the putt, make the
Yeah.
putt. So, that is so key, to talk to yourself, stay in the present moment, which reminded me, so many of you, I'm sure, saw the video of Amy Brockerstedt, right? The I've Got This. She played at the Waste Management Tournament, the PGA, played one hole, the par 316 with Gary Woodland in their practice round. And Matt Kuchar was there as well. And you heard her saying, the PGA recorded her, I've got this. I can do this. I've got this. Even as she was walking down, she hit in the green side bunker. She's walking down. She looks up. It's not a full place, but it's half to
More
three
people
quarters
than, yeah.
full.
Yeah.
It's huge because they have the grandstand there. She looks around. She's like, oh, hi. They love me because they're cheering for her, right?
Mm.
So Gary thought she was going to throw it out of the bunker. And he says, you want to hit it out of the bunker? She said, yes. She said, okay, let's go do it. She said, you hear her say, I've got this. I can do this. I've got this. She goes in the bunker, knocks it out. She's probably about 8 feet from the hole. The crowd goes crazy. Harry's going crazy. That's awesome. Way to go. And he says to her, what do you say we make this putt? She said, okay. And he said, a little bit right to left. And she said, yes. And then she goes, I've got this. And she just pictured it. She rolls. I'm getting chills thinking about it. She
Hmm.
rolls the putt in. The crowd goes crazy. Gary and Matt, like they're all there, like cheering for her, high fiving. And it was an amazing moment and a great lesson for everyone in golf and in life, that she talked to herself. So talking to herself. What's cool about that is Gary stayed in touch with her. They became friends. It was in 2019 that Gary was in the US Open later that year. And he credited Amy because the last day, he had never won a major. The last day, he kept saying, I've got this. I can do this. And what truly, Josh, brings that home for me is I'm the lead professional of the LPGA Leadership Academy, where we bring in teenage girls and basically transform their lives in 2 days. Amy was in the course in 2016.
Oh, no
And
way.
she learned those words
No
from
way.
my teaching. I was the lead instructor and wrote most of the curriculum. So in a
Dang.
weird way, I helped Gary Woodland when he was
You get all the credit.
talk to him.
Yes.
I'm so proud of Amy for taking it, because how many of us learn things, right? Knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Amy turned the knowledge into power, and she has transformed so many lives, because then she created the I've Got This foundation. And Amy has Down syndrome. She was the first player to compete in a national tournament in college, an NCAA tournament, with Down syndrome. She is, and she is helping people all over the world with the foundation. But it's a great lesson to know the power of talking to yourself, not just listening to yourself.
Man, that's beautiful. So so when you're in a situation, and I I I like to push back on some things sometimes. So let's pretend you're in a situation and you have no actual reason to believe I've got this, but you're saying it anyway. Is that helpful, or is it can it actually distract you or kind of fake it till you make it? I don't know. How do you feel about the I'm helping myself versus I'm lying to myself? I don't know. Talk
I've
about that.
heard people step up to a shot over water and say, okay, the water's not there.
Yeah.
And that I stop people and I say, the water's there. Your brain knows it. It's not believing you.
Right.
Just focus on the target on the other side of the water and tell yourself, I've got this. And so
Yes.
here's the key to that. If a person has ever hit it over water, has ever hit that shot well in their whole life, you can easily say, I've got this, because your brain remembers everything and it knows you've done it before, even if it was on the range. So if you step up to a situation, if we think about it, what's better, stepping up and going, yeah, I've never done this before. Like,
Mm,
say it is something new, right? It's brand new. You've never done it. Well, I've never done that. I'll probably suck at it. I know I won't do this well. So you set yourself up to not do it well. Now, if you step up and say, I'm going to give this my best shot, and you know what? I've got this.
mm,
Yeah. And maybe you say, I might do this really well.
mm-hmm.
It's possible. When I was doing the bowling, I had never had a 300. I would say it's possible. I knew I could make one strike. And my mindset was, don't try to make 12 in a row, make one strike at a time.
There you
So
go.
if you know you've hit, same thing with free throws. I would go early before class many mornings, and I would practice. And a guy comes into the gym and I'm practicing free throws. He comes to me, he says, can you make 5 in a row? And I looked at him and I was like, yes, because I knew I could make one. So in my mind, I said, make one shot. So that's staying. I didn't even know what I know at the time. I
Mm-hmm.
majored in psychology, but I didn't even know the power of what I did in that moment. And I said, make one shot. And I did. And I wasn't saying, okay, that's 2, that's 3. He was. And then I'd say one
Mm-hmm.
free throw. And I made 5 in a row because I made one free throw 5 times, not
Yes.
5 in a row. So that's an important component too. When, you've played 8 good holes, right? Get back the present moment, one shot, one target.
Mm. I
But
love
yes,
that.
so I think you can still say, I've got this, things that, or it's possible. Don't tell yourself there's no out of bounds and no water
Yeah.
if it's there.
Yeah. You got to ask yourself, okay, what's more helpful here? Even let's find the most helpful version of what I can say. And you can leave. Calling it a lie is not fair, right? I use that strong language as just to push back, but you can do it. Maybe you haven't seen it before, so then I know this is possible. I believe I can do it. That's so much more helpful than there's no chance. I got no chance, right? We've seen it a million times, played in groups of golfers where, I mean, you could see two people and maybe even the same person do both versions. The guy who's or the girl who's talking well to themselves is usually going to perform better, and the guy or girl talking bad to themselves is usually going to perform worse. It's just, I mean, that's common sense. But I love the. I didn't make 5 in a row. I made one shot 5 times. I absolutely love that concept where we're just trying to string present moments together, right? That's all a round of golf is, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that is incredibly powerful. And when you can get yourself in a positive mindset for every single shot, and literally, you see Wonder Woman all around me, like that power pose, put your shoulders back, get your chin up, stand like a superhero, and you are going to create more confidence. Even if you don't feel it, it will eventually get there because body language works in both ways. We react to the way we're feeling, and people can look at some other people and go, oh, wow, they're being defensive or mad, or when they grab the hair, they're stressed out, right? You can tell watching somebody, and that's a natural thing. Our body reacts. The opposite's also true. We can shift our body and create the emotion. So when you're out there, get in that confident, positive state, put a smile on your face. It's our own happy drug. Serotonin, dopamine, like literally just smile.
Mm,
Standing in a power pose, you
mm,
will get calmer, relaxed, because what does a smile tell our brain? Oh, everything must be okay. We're smiling. We're happy. Oh, maybe I won't be on such alert anymore. Let me calm down a little. We want to get that parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and relax. Those deep breaths will do that. Helping to put a smile, standing in a confident way will help all of the nerves in your body get calmer. And mind doesn't mean your body's not going to still be nervous. You could be calm in mind and still feel the heart pounding in an exciting, you know what? Oh my God, pressure is a privilege.
yeah.
I just went totally blank. The tennis player, Billie Jean King.
But
Pressure
yes.
is a privilege.
Yep.
You know, they have that right at the US Open as every player's walking
Yeah,
out.
that's right.
Pressure is a privilege, Billie Jean King. You know, get excited that you're in the situation. After all, you want to be. You want to be coming down the 18th hole with half your club members watching and you're trying to win the club championship. If that's your goal, you want to maybe lower your handicap or shoot your lowest score ever. So embrace the moment and just talk to yourself one shot at a time. Me and my target. I've got this, you know, and take the actions with your body to match the thoughts. So when you can match your thoughts with your body position, now you're going to up level your confidence and help you to swing with timing and tempo rather than tension. And, you know, just think about it. What you said, the negative thoughts or the positive, at least you give yourself a better chance.
Right.
You
That's all
know,
we're trying to do.
it's all we're
Also,
trying to do.
we,
Set yourself up to give yourself the best chance to hit the best shot
yeah,
possible.
yeah,
And then accept the outcome. That's the next challenge for golfers. Accept the outcome. Because truly, Josh, a golf shot is neither good nor bad. It's our interpretation of the golf shot that
mm,
makes it good or bad.
mm, that's
Right?
right.
One person can hit it in the woods and go, interesting. Wow, this will be a challenging par, but I think maybe I can still do it. Another person will be cursing at themselves and throwing clubs and so mad that it went over in the woods.
Yep. And the person who is interpreting that one well is usually more present. The other person might be hanging on to, I just made a birdie, now I'm going to blow it, or I can't get off the bogey train, or whatever it is. So they're bringing past and future into this present moment.
100%. And that's not going to help at all. You know, and how many times you heard someone, they hit an incredible drive and then they mess up the next shot. And I just experienced this about 2 weeks ago. And my playing partner says, oh, I messed up that drive. And I said to her, I said, you know, that drive was still a great drive.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
couldn't mess it up. You crushed it. It was down the middle. That was a great drive. I know. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. People try to talk themselves down for no
Exactly.
good reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And why do we do that? You know, a
Yeah.
lot of that comes from upbringing and beliefs in childhood. And that's where I go to so much of with my coaching because we've learned that somewhere, or our belief has us being critical, our belief about ourselves. I'm not good enough, right? I don't belong in this foursome. Everyone's better than me. I'm going to embarrass myself. So then we just jump on the train and criticize ourselves too,
Mm.
which doesn't help.
Yeah. Misery loves company. And somehow we have wound our way all the way back to shaping beliefs, or shifting beliefs is what I want to talk about. So you have this as from your childhood, and I know I have this of kind of, I need to perform to get other people's admiration or whatever. I think that's a really big one. Or maybe it's just a low self view. And let's say you're in that position and it causes all of these symptoms of, bad self talk, playing yourself down, self deprecation. So, how can you go from that place to, I don't say those things to myself anymore, not from just faking it, but because I actually believe something different about myself? How can you do that?
Well, there's a couple ways. I'll tell you the one way
Mm-hmm.
that takes a long time,
Uh-huh.
and It's knowing that our brains have neuroplasticity, which means we can shift neural connections, which is the neural beliefs that we have. Now, Tony Robbins is the one who is the master at this, and he did this for himself. He would do his incantations and affirmations. He doesn't like to say it's positive thinking. He
Mm,
makes fun of that.
mm.
He does it as incantations and affirmations, where, and more, he likes to call them more incantations, where he's using his body and emotions and he's saying positive words to himself. Like for me, I had one that I'm not smart enough. And so to shift that, once I was aware of it, which I learned more about it when I was writing this book, and I kept cleaning the junk drawer or getting hungry or doing something else every time I had on my calendar to write the book, or I'd sit down and write it and then I have to go to the bathroom. I'm like,
Mhm.
why am I self-sabotaging? I am
Yep.
so in my way. So I had a coach at the time, and I went to her and I said, I don't know what's going on, but every time I'm trying to write my book, something happens.
Yeah.
And so it was this belief I'm not smart enough. And remember, your brain's job is to protect you. And if I write a book, everyone's going to know that I'm an idiot, right? Your brain's like, don't write the book. It's embarrassing, right?
Yep.
So it's the same thing with whatever beliefs that we have. So I had this incantation. I have all the intelligence I need to be successful. I couldn't believe that, back to that belief statement. I couldn't just say I'm a genius,
Right. No, no.
or
That's
I'm
a
brilliant.
lie. Right. Yeah.
My IQ doesn't show that, but I know I have all the intelligence I need to be successful. And
Mm.
when I'm passionate about something, I can learn anything, right? So incantation. So that's kind of the Tony Robbins style. The positioning with your body, having this powerful move and saying it with jumping up and down. I've done UPW and jumping up and down and saying yes and getting yourself in this peak state. And that will eventually, it's kind of like this for golfers. You know how there's a cart path, and oftentimes there's this little shortcut, and somebody on the cart takes that shortcut once, and then another cart, and then another cart. All of a sudden you have this dirt path, right? So now there's creating a new path, but there's still this concrete. So that's still, your brain loves the path of least resistance. So that concrete is still least resistance compared to
Mm.
path. But eventually, the golf course may say, you know what, let's just pave that
Yeah.
too. And now your brain's like, oh, wait, this is easier. She keeps fighting me, or he keeps fighting me on this old path. All right, I'm just giving up. I'm going to do this now. So that is one way, because we have that neuroplasticity. What I've learned is neuro linguistic programming, NLP, and timeline therapy. And this is the faster way to get there, where we literally go back to what we call the root cause event in a light trance state. It's not like deep hypnosis. Deep hypnosis can do this, but there's not conscious awareness, and we can reinstall an old belief. So, but I'm not saying it doesn't work, but that's possible as well. But you want to make sure you're consciously on board.
Yes.
With timeline therapy, it's conscious awareness and unconscious shifts. So we go back to what caused the person to be the perfectionist, because I have to be perfect to be loved and valued. The control freak, right? Because that person, I mean, I recognize them in about a minute, and I'll say to a new student, were you always need to be in control, or just in
Mm.
golf? They're like, how did you know I'm such a control freak? And I was like, because they couldn't loosen their grip. They couldn't let the club swing. Well, way back when, somewhere they were out of control, and it was scary, probably. And that your brain doesn't know the difference between a golf shot and a scary moment in life. It has no idea. It just says, what does this mean if I'm out of control? Uh-oh, scary.
Bad.
I don't want to do
Yeah.
that again. Right. So with timeline therapy, we go back to the moment it happened, because your unconscious mind truly remembers everything, even though consciously we don't. And there's a process we do that shifts it at the unconscious level with conscious awareness, and it can blow it out quicker, and like basically pave the new path for the new belief in an instant. Just like we thought of it in an instant, it became our reality in an
Yeah.
instant. It's a limiting decision, and then it's a limiting belief, because we keep proving it to ourselves over and over and over. So if
Yes.
we get back to the moment you made the decision, and then get the learnings we need and blow it out and create a new decision, I am enough. I am loved. I am valued. I am worthy. I am safe. I am secure. Whatever those are, I'm confident. I believe in myself. Those positive things at the unconscious level from way back when. You can look at your whole life on this thing we call the timeline, and it all looks different. Oh my gosh, I was loved the whole time. Oh, my parents really wanted what was best for me. I decided that I wasn't good enough and I had to be perfect to get their love, but they really were trying to just point out everything I did wrong so I could do better. And because they believed in me so much, right? I mean, it's a whole different perspective,
Yeah.
right? It's life changing.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting because um the I love the what man, my mind is racing because I love this kind of concept of, I go to a counselor therapist person, and the majority of what we do is we go back to the what she, or I've had two, a guy and a girl, what they've both referred to as an agreement, right? So I at one point I had some idea or some thought pop in my head and I agreed to it. I agreed with it, right? You are a failure or something. Like that's an extreme one, but I know that I've experienced that and agreed with it. Or your parents won't love you unless blank, right? Yep, that must be true because when I did this really well, they seemed like they loved me more. When I did this bad, they didn't congratulate me. So I agree with it. And now forever, I'm looking extra hard for, okay, I did bad. Are they gonna talk to me? No, they didn't. Okay, I did good and they congratulate me. It must be true. So the self-fulfilling prophecy thing.
Yes.
That's fascinating. So then the let's say a listener is, that maybe they're not going to do NLP or timeline therapy, or I think everyone should go to some sort of counselor or therapist person. I think it should just be a prerequisite of life. But
I agree.
right,
Part of
so let's
my
say
life.
they're not, yeah, right, let's say they're not going to do any of that, and they say just give me something I can do, right after the end of this podcast on the way to work, whatever. What's something I can do to address those agreements or those lies that we've believed this whole time? What's something someone can do? Maybe not quick. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, challenge yourself. Is it really true?
Yes.
So if you have a belief, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't belong, or I'm not loved, find proof of the opposite in your life.
Mm,
So it's our perception, and our perception of life comes from our beliefs. So if you like consciously challenge yourself and you actually say, wait, is this really true? Like I could have, not on the deepest level, but is this really true? I'm not smart enough. Geez, I was in advanced calculus in high school. I graduated high school. I graduated college. My coach even nominated me for academic All-American something. And because I didn't believe it, I didn't even fill it out. I'm like, I'm not that smart,
wow. Yeah.
right? Um, wow, wow, I was a head guy, so look at challenge the belief, you know, think of times that you failed that people did pick you up. People did still love you and talk to you. Think of times where you kind of let go of control a little and all worked out. So start to challenge that. And then a huge key is to interrupt. Interrupt when those thoughts come in. Like literally, you can go stop and put your hand up, picture a stop sign, go stop it, and replace the old thought and belief with what you want to believe. Now, there's this thing Tony Robbins does, and I do this with the girls at the Leadership Academy, where we take the old belief and then really question it. If you can remember like the root cause, the moment that something shifted, if you can really remember that, go back to that and be like, is that really true? What I decided, or what my agreement that I made with myself, is it really true? Well, no. And see if you can just see it from another perspective. Maybe they meant this. Even if it's just possible, it's possible they meant this. So I'd say challenge it there at the root if you know it, challenge it in your whole life story and say, and then start looking for the proof of the opposite, right? And then what we do is when you hear it, just, if it's, I don't belong, say, I am loved and valued. right? So you go, that thought came in and go, oh my God, I shouldn't be in this room. And it's, you recognize, you say that or feel those emotions, just go stop and like literally shift your body and go, you know what, I am loved and valued by so many.
Mm,
Because it's our perception, right? If you walk into a room and you have this, and I had one of my clients, she felt she didn't belong, and she spent holidays alone until we helped her shift the belief. The next holiday, she had like 3 invitations, but they probably kind of invited her in the
yeah.
past, and she didn't even recognize it because she didn't think she would get invited. But it's like if you walk into a room and you see someone you know and you wave to them and they turn and they looked like they were looking at you, if you feel you don't belong, you're going to assume, oh my gosh, they wish I wasn't here. If you walk in with confidence, you might be like, oh, I guess somebody called them to go the other way, or they
Mhm.
didn't see me.
Right.
So our beliefs determine how we interpret our life story and our life situation. So it's
Mm,
important to be mindful. Josh, right? How was it 20 years ago or so? The word mindful came out, mindfulness.
mhm.
Be mindful of your own thoughts first. Interrupt the ones that aren't serving you. See if you can figure out from where it came, and then challenge in your whole life. Find the opposite. That isn't true. No, it's really not true. It's really not.
Yeah. I love the respond to the lies with the truth, right? Your brain is throwing lies at you to try to protect you, right? And you could even shift your perspective to of kind of giving your brain the benefit of the doubt. It's like, thank you, brain. You're really trying here, but that's not helpful, right? You're just trying to protect me. I don't need protection right now. This isn't a life or death situation. I'm fine. And which is true. Now, if you literally are in a life or death situation, that's not going to work. And your brain probably wouldn't let you stop to think about it in the first place. But golf courses are not life or death situations, yet our brain interprets them as so. So we have to respond to those lies our brain is throwing at ourselves with the truth, right? And I love the mindfulness. I just listen. I've read Ellen Langer's book, and she was just on the Huberman Lab podcast, and I've never heard her talk before, but she was talking about, I mean, the entire time, Huberman was asking her a question, and she would just like turn it on its head of like, well, what if this is true, right? It was just all about looking at something with a different perspective, and as simple as that is, you can just say, okay, this isn't. I'm not playing a golf tournament. I'm hitting a golf ball, right? If you strip away all of the extra stuff that we add to things, that our brain adds to things, and look at it as it is, you're able to proceed more thoughtfully, more in the present.
Absolutely, because it's those beliefs that get in the way. And what I did, I was very, very shy when I grew up. I mean, extremely, extremely shy. And then I didn't want to be shy anymore. Every once in a like on the athletic field, I could be a little bit more outgoing because I felt so confident there and I could be this leader. And then I'd walk off the field and I'd have my head down. I'd be in
Same,
the pool with my head down. Like
same.
my family, I could be, with my immediate family, my mom, my dad, and my sisters, and I could be like this, fun, we'd sing, and then my aunt would walk in or someone, and then I'd be all quiet again, or a friend. I was like scared of everything, my whole upbringing. And so I would see these outgoing people and I saw myself in them somehow, and I could see glimpses of it. And I started to challenge myself. And I would do this, and I don't know how I came up with it. I would say to myself, what's the worst thing that could happen? Will you die? That was that's where I would
Yeah.
went. And I'd say no. And I'd say, well, then do it. Then say something. I mean, literally, it was say something, ask a question, like raise your hand. And I kept doing that until I was able to then be my authentic self and not live in this fear of, I think, what people were thinking, right? I know
Yeah.
my mom was one who always worried about what people, my dad probably too.
Hmm.
So it was probably just kind of a thing we grew up with because they passed down a bit, and then I bought into it, obviously. So it was that fear, I guess, of embarrassment.
I love
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so I did it.
yeah. That's amazing. I love what's the worst case scenario here, and when your brain realizes, wait, death is not the worst case scenario. It's just honestly, there's no worst case scenario. They just don't respond, or who's not going to respond if I say something? So the worst case scenario that we create is just almost never true.
Absolutely. Even if it's a little embarrassing, even if I say something silly or ask a silly question, which I can remember one time I did. The teacher was like, "No, it means," like, she did re-explain it, and then it was so simple, I was like, "Oh, okay," and I didn't hear it at first, which it was fine. It was fine. I was just happy I had the courage to raise my hand.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So on the golf course, you start to have this fear, then you stop yourself, envision the stop sign, hold your hand up, stop, or just quietly to yourself, like whoa, 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 hear the brakes screeching, and say, okay, what am I actually afraid of here? What is the worst case scenario here? Okay, I hit the ball out of bounds. Okay, I have to re-tee, and I hit another drive. That's actually not that big of a deal, right? Or I shoot an 82 and I lose the club championship. Okay, I mean, that sucks, but that's okay. Like, it's like, what is the worst case scenario? It's actually not that bad. So,
Annika Sorenstam played in the Colonial, the men's event, and right before she went to tee off, her coach, Pia Nielsen of Vision 54, said to her, and I forget the name of her cat, but say it was Charlie. I don't know the name of the cat, but she said to Annika, Charlie will still love you no matter what happens.
right.
And she was like, "You're right." And she was as nervous as she'd ever been because it was huge. Remember, VJ dropped
Oh,
out of
yeah.
the tournament and others, and some criticized her, others were fine with it. And then she looked down the fairway. She said people were climbing in trees down the fairway just to watch her tee off. It was the biggest moment ever in her life. So she, of course, was nervous. And she was most nervous about teeing the ball up. And she said, geez, it would be kind of silly for me to have my caddy tee up. So hopefully I can get through that. And once she was shaking so much. Once she got the ball teed up, she was a little bit more relaxed and she took out a forward and she hit a great shot down the middle. But
Mm,
that was the moment for her that helped with put life in perspective. Your
yeah.
cat will still love you.
Yeah.
You're going to be alive after this.
Yeah.
Everything will be okay.
Yeah.
So recognizing that we have a tendency to make things bigger, and it's a lot from the unconscious mind that makes it really big because it thinks we're going to be so hurt. But once you start challenging that or you recognize that, you can truly start to shift it.
Mm. Well, my cat's name is Charlie, so I'm going to start saying
Oh,
that to myself.
nailed it.
All right, Debbie O'Connell, thank you so much. I'm conscious of your time, so this has been awesome. This has been fast paced and very dense. So I hope the listener got as much value as I did. So thank you.
It's my pleasure, Josh. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. And what you do to help golfers and not just on the course, but in life is amazing. So keep it up.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And before I let you go, where would you send people? Where should people discover you? What do you want people to listen to or watch?
Yeah, you can. I have a page on Facebook called Golf Positive at Debbie-O'Connell.com is my website. I actually have a free 5-day challenge on there. So look for that. I do like a 3-minute message every day and give you a challenge each
Oh,
day
cool.
to help you start this mindset shift. So it's DEBBIE, little dash, OCONNELL.com. And if you want, you can even email me, Debbie at Debbie-O'Connell.com.
Amazing. Okay, Debbie, thank you so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Great. Thanks, Josh.